first order of business this morning. Notice of intent. Sean Delude, 0317 and 317A South Orleans Road, by Environmental Consulting and Restoration, map 69, parcels 14, 13, and 15. The proposed renovations of an existing boathouse, including new roofing, siding, windows, doors, flooring, and superficial foundation repairs. The project includes a new access deck at the front and a seasonally removable floating stairway at the back of the boathouse. The project also includes native mitigation plantings and new underground utilities. Work will occur within the 100-foot buffer zone to salt marsh, on a coastal bank, within land subject to coastal storm flowage, and within the Pleasant Bay ACEC.
Just go ahead.
Okay.
And good morning.
Yes, good morning, Commission. Cameron Larson with ECR, representing the applicant to present this notice of intent to you today. Also with me.
Ben Zender. I will promise to say as little as possible. Thanks.
So in front of you today, it's a notice of intent for 0 South Orleans Road. Property is owned by Tim Delude, who also owns 317 South Orleans Road, which is just a property north of this small little site. The site plan in front of you, I also have one here. It's a very small property on Aries Pond. It essentially consists of just this one small existing boathouse. The boathouse has been in place for some time. We can see it in aerial imagery as far back as 1938. It sits on a concrete block foundation, wooden framing, typical wooden siding. There is no floor currently in the boathouse. It's just a dirt, just the existing dirt floor. The Aries Pond does have a salt marsh associated with it here in this portion of the property. ECR delineated the salt marsh shown on the plan in blue. It kind of traverses or cuts through about halfway through the boathouse. So a portion of the boathouse does currently sit within the salt marsh. We have identified the mean high water on the plan, which is shown in the green line. That just barely clips this, this corner here of the boathouse. We have been in discussions with DEP's Chapter 91 Waterways program regarding the potential for Chapter 91 licensing, as well as potential for water quality certification. So those will be, we'll follow up with those as soon as we get through you guys here. Sean Delude's other property is up this direction. Currently, to access the property, there's kind of a rugged footpath that traverses the coastal bank here. It's steep, it's narrow, there's no, formal footing or no formal steps or anything. But there is a deeded easement for Tim Delude to access the boathouse property through 317A. So that's what's shown here on this plan. That was an access point that was historically used. It has now become overgrown. There's herbaceous growth in there. There's some woody shrubbery. Nothing too big. There's some small little saplings in there. As part of this proposal, we're looking to reestablish the access using this pathway to rehab essentially the boathouse. What the proposed work entails is installing a floor within the boathouse. So they want to get everything up off the dirt and install an actual floor in the boathouse, renovate the interior and exterior to the extent of new siding, new roofing, and such. We are proposing a small little landing step at the front to access the boathouse. Just a small little wooden platform. We minimize it to be 3 feet in width just to kind of cleanly step up into the boathouse. And then we are proposing, as mentioned, the seasonally removable stairway to the rear to give access down to Aries Pond. We've kind of, through discussions with Mr. Janelle and our team, we've kind of scaled back that part of it a little bit. We had initially considered a little stone footpath to get out to Aries Pond, having the stairway sit on a little landing. At this point, the design includes what we're referring to as a floating stairway, so it actually will sit above the marsh. It'll not sit on the marsh bottom, so it'll be secured to the existing boathouse, in some sort of way, cantilevered or such, and sit above that marsh. So there'll be actually no stair on the marsh itself. It'll just be one step down to that marsh area for access. Getting back to the easement, so our plan here is to brush mow that. We are proposing, as part of this project, to tie in electric and water from Sean's property to the north through this easement. Those will be trenched underground, and then it'll all be restored back to its existing grades and restored with a seed mix. Those will provide water and electric to the boathouse. And then I think that covers basically what's the work to the boathouse. And then in an effort to provide a betterment to the property, we are proposing a mitigation planting plan. So this is zoomed in here now to the boathouse again, same orientation. There's some invasives here, not a ton, but we did identify a couple autumn olive on the south side of the boathouse. There's some bittersweet vine in through here. So we are proposing to remove those invasives and then replant with a mix of native species. We have some shrubbery, all woody shrubs that we're proposing, about 25 or so in total, that'll surround this area and fill it all in within that buffer zone to that marsh in an effort to, leave it better than it is now. That summarizes the project in essence, and I'd be happy to address any questions the commission may have. Thank you.
If I could, just a couple quick things. I don't know if all of you were able to get into the boathouse. You walk out and open the door and look in.
We did.
No, we walked in.
We did.
But yeah, there's not much to see there, but it's interesting. So if you go in, there's a block foundation that kind of goes out, then it drops down, then it goes out again. Got a dirt floor. So the idea is that on the front of the building, it will be open below the floor so the water can pass in and out of the building. They can maybe put a kayak or something under there. With the stairway that drops down, doesn't touch the bottom. They then have the access out to get out to the mooring out there without walking around the property and having to create any kind of disturbance around the outside of the building. That way they can come in from the back, go through. That floor will just follow the foundation, all the way. So there's no work proposed on the exterior of the building on the ground. It's really just the siding, the walls, all that, and then that flooring inside. So one of the things that you'll see looking at the plan is the mean high water mark kind of runs through the corner of the building. I hope you all saw where that is. It's not much, but it's enough. So I think this is going to require an application of the DEP for a Chapter 91 license, even though we're above the water and we're not doing any exterior work on the ground there. So we're hoping that if you see fit to issue an order of conditions, we can then go through the DEP licensing process, which we think may be challenging. We're not sure. So, but we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Okay. And John, we got a couple letters in, Division of Marine Fisheries and a DEP letter. Can you get those into the record?
Can I ask one question? Because before I read those into the record, they do mention the waterways jurisdiction quite a bit. So the intent is to seek an order, conditions, and then address the waterways. So sometimes we issue orders subject to, and so we can issue an order perhaps at some point. I don't want to be presumptive, but let me read the comments in. But in the past, we've done that. So I'll start with the comments. We have a number of comments that have been made by the DEP. The applicant has seen these. And we have comments from Marine Fisheries. I think the applicant and the commission has seen these. I'm going to read into the record the DEP comments because they usually come to me very late. I do have them, and I'll start with that.
I must have missed that. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to number them. They're not numbered on the email from the Southeast Regional Office. However, in order to follow along and answer any questions related to them, I'll
Yeah, just to
number
be clear, you guys, we
Yeah.
did not get the DEP letter in our packets, so.
So number one, work within 100 feet of salt marsh is subject to the performance standards set forth in 310 CMR 1032, Section 3. Please confirm the project's compliance with the cited performance standards with the Conservation Commission. Number two, temporary placement of construction matting within salt marsh may constitute the discharge of fill material into an outstanding resource water, ORW, and salt marsh per 314 CMR 9.04, Section 2, and 314 CMR 9.04, Section 8, respectively. And may require a 401 water quality certification from the Mass DEP. See additional requirements below. I'll call this 2A, additional requirements, first comment. A Chapter 91 license may be required. Application transmittal forms are available on the Mass DEP website, and there's a reference for those. 2B is a 401 water quality cert, may be required for this project. Certification by the Army Corps for the general permit and a citation where to find that application. And 2C, their last comment, 401 water quality cert applications must now be submitted through EEA's ePlace, and there's a web certification for the applicant to find that. A lot of comments around two things, salt marsh and 91 and waterways. The DMF comments were included in a letter dated May 7th, 2026. I think Cameron has these, and I know he knew I was going to kick these off to lead discussion today. Mass DMF offers following comments for your consideration. Number 1, the low-lying boathouses within salt marsh habitat. Reconstructing the boathouse gives the proponent an opportunity to raise the structure away from the high tide line, move the structure landward outside the salt marsh habitat. Mass DMF encourages the proponent to move the structure landward to reduce the footprint of the structure within salt marsh habitat where possible. Number 2 is a seasonal retractable floating stairway would encourage foot traffic and/or boat launching through the salt marsh. The applicants currently have access to Aries Pond. Private dock at 317 South Orleans Road. Number 3, Mass DMF recommends that all staging and storage of construction equipment and material be located on the upland side of the project outside of salt marsh habitat. Number 4, fuel spills from fueling construction will adversely impact resource areas. Impacts can be avoided by prohibiting land-based equipment from being fueled on site. And that's it. They're signed from Amanda Davis, who's the environmental analyst at DMF. So a couple comments from state agencies, given the location of the boathouse within ACEC, within salt marsh, and a corner of which is within waterways jurisdiction. Not surprising to see the state lean around the salt marsh habitat in those areas.
Okay, thank you, John. Commissioners, who wants to start? Ken?
Good morning. My main concern is, I guess, the overall construction and especially, I guess, the tear down of the walls, the windows, and all the debris. Especially sort of, I guess you're going to replace the doors in front. And how, if you can just describe to the commission how you're going to avoid getting debris into the water and floating off and such, and sort of, I guess, I just don't want any like pollution debris or anything like that. Are there going to be any fabricated wood on this project?
You mean prefabricated wood that's coming in?
Like plastics?
Oh, I don't believe so. I don't think we're proposing any of that material. What we're proposing is to utilize some small temporary matting around the structure to protect the salt marsh while doing the siding and roofing and things like that. Typically, what we've seen work around salt marshes like this is using tarping too, daily tarping, where tarps are set down, held in place during the removal, and all materials collected at the end of the day off the tarps and taken off site. It'll all be done by hand, so everybody, the contractor will be, aware of the sensitivity of the salt marsh and what we're protecting there. So it'll be done by hand, tarping, utilizing the matting. It's a fairly small structure, so, not a ton of work, but I think we can do a good job at keeping it all contained.
Okay. That's it for me.
Jenny?
One clarification, I was a little confused because it seems as though the boathouse is Tim DeLude and the house is Sean DeLude. Are they both dead low? Are they dead low together?
I have to go back and look at the.
I may have referenced Tim Delude, and it's Sean Delude's.
It's Jean Delude's boathouse.
Yes, correct.
Who owns the two properties,
Yes.
Okay.
but in different entities. So Dedlow is the entity that owns the boathouse here. And then
Hello also owns the house.
he owns the house, but then I think Tim, and again, I believe Tim is the manager of the LLC that owns the boathouse. So his
So-
role here is as a manager of the LLC.
Just make sure with John that you've got ownership and sign off.
I believe it was just, actually, when I listened, and I'm looking at Tim and his facial expressions, I think you confused the ownership.
We were just talking prior to him going.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got Tim Delude over my,
I
yeah.
just want to make sure that we have
I think our
jurisdiction. over
paperwork's in
both
order,
properties.
though, Ginny. on the-
Sorry for the confusion.
No,
on
no,
that.
that's fine. So we would want confirmation that there is no plastic in the construction materials. Invasive removal, how? By hand?
Yes, we're just proposing by hand, flush cutting and removal. We're not proposing any herbicide at this point. We remove the root ball because we're not using herbicide, but it'll all be replaced, with the natives. There's only two fairly large, not, two fairly good-sized autumn olives, but they'll be pulled out and restored.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any tree removal?
no tree room.
Especially in the, no, because you can avoid them when you're doing the utilities.
Right, correct.
We would want specification on the seed mix, so that's a no. We'd want stair detail, daily trash removal. Wouldn't it be easier to see if you need the Chapter 91 license and all of that before you,
We're going to need the Chapter 91 license, and they're going to need an order of conditions before we can start that process.
We can make ours conditional.
We can do it. It's just
Madam Chair,
seems
Yeah.
a little backwards.
my
especially-
experience.
Especially since the state is suggesting moving it back and moving it up.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
We need the order to
you
go
might
to the
wanna
state, but I think a condition on the issuance of the order
Yeah, we'll have,
prior to construction is fine.
Okay.
And issue the 91 license plate.
David, did you have something?
I was just going to say, they need an order of conditions in order to apply, to go through the Chapter 91 process.
Sometimes they do advisory those, and then it just makes it easier.
That's not my experience, but
Well, we'll make it
Yeah,
conditional
all
regardless.
right. That's all I have at the moment.
Okay, Dick?
I have a couple of things. So, one is we've got the easement and the access for construction. And we have the rugged footpath coming from the house down to the boathouse, which is going to be the walkway once we're completed and moving on.
That'll be within the easement where the utilities are installed, so that'll be restored with a native seed mix and then maintained, a certain width by mowing to access that boathouse. So the rugged footpath will no longer be used. If you saw it, it's
It's gnarly.
yeah, right, correct.
Okay.
Just for the board, just in case you're curious, that easement passes over the land of Galeanis going in. I've actually met with her a couple times and talked with her. She's indicated she's not going to be present, and she's not going to object to it. I'm not sure she's thrilled about it, but she doesn't really want to get involved with this. We went back and researched the title going all the way back. This easement was reserved all the way back to the state highway
Yep.
back when. You probably know it was Sea Scouts Boathouse. So you probably don't know all that.
Per the question, that it's all taken care of, that you can use the,
Yeah, no, the easement's very clear. Yeah, the easement's very clear in the record title, and, so I've tried to be very, open with Gail. I went down to her house, I met with her, I actually delivered the packages in hand to her for review, so, just to make sure that she understood.
Well, and just to put a fine point on it,
Yep.
when you say to whatever width, it can't be more than 4 feet wide.
No, we're not seeking more than 4 feet wide, no,
Cameron said to whatever width, they can.
4 foot wide.
4 feet wide.
Yeah. Okay, Dick, go ahead.
Yeah, let me move on. The one that's biting at me, are we, John, Are we, the boathouse, in agreement that it's in the Zone AE, elevation 13?
Below it, yeah. It is
So-
below the flood zone, sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think I'm having problems that it was 12 words basically saying that we're gonna build a floor. So that we have a new floor at top of the existing, I'm just rounding it to 3-foot foundation. So a structure in the Zone AE has to basically be 13 feet high, plus I'm not even recommending that, that's part of the base flood elevation, the new lowest floor, so that there's. The other thing that's bothering me a little bit is another trigger that assessed value of the house is $195,000, and the construction may be over $97,000, which would be 50%. That also triggers another set of thoughts. So at this point in time, I just need to know more about the floor. How's it going down? Do we need basically a cost analysis of what's going on there around the whole structure? And then essentially, what are we doing with the floor?
Yeah, those are great questions, Dick. I mean, really good questions. I think it also depends on what the boathouse is being used for, whether it's habitable floor area that is required to be elevated above the base flood elevation. We can answer those questions.
Yeah, see if that, because I tried looking into it, and theoretically, between the two, it's pretty clear that it should be 13 foot, but
Okay.
look into it.
Thanks.
Judith?
Yeah, so I sort of have problems with all of it. So, I mean, where do I start? So, yes, definitely concerns that match DEP's. Definitely concerned around what is the usage. I fail to understand the need for electrical or water. If this is to be a boathouse stores boats. A boathouse does not store people. There should be no need for electrical and water. Should there be need for electrical? Absolutely, no outdoor lighting whatsoever. No, yeah, none. But again, I don't see need for it. I don't understand the need for the new access. That seems to me an inordinate amount of disruption through all of the buffer as well as the 50, the ACEC. I believe what we took to get there was the quote rough path.
We were on both, or we
Well,
looked
it-
down into the gully if they.
Okay, it felt very much to me like any regular walking path. You know, put down some wood chips and you're good to go. It's a path to get down to a boathouse, down to the edge of water. I definitely don't see the need for any kind of steps. Floating are better than permanent, but steps down into the marsh. As DEP pointed out, you have complete access to the water and to boats from an existing dock on the property. The last thing we want to do is encourage people to walk down into the marsh and damage the marsh with foot traffic. So that's like a non-starter to me. I don't know that I have a problem with putting a floor down on it if this is for additional boat storage and storage above to have an additional area. I like the idea of leaving the front of it open to the bottom to allow water to flow in and out. But if, to Dick's point, there's going to be this much effort and work that goes into this and this much amount of alteration, pick the whole thing up and put it back out of the salt marsh, out of the mean high water. Wouldn't get it out of the ACEC, but at least get it well back from the water. So, yeah.
Jerry?
That's where I am.
Madam Chair, could I
Yeah.
just for a moment? I'm not against a floor. Let me make
We
that.
may agree on one thing.
Let me put that perfectly clear. I'm not afraid, the floor, it's gonna have a purpose, but all I'm doing is looking at the zone and what it triggers. Just wanted to clear, put that on the record.
Jerry?
I want to say, like Judith, the utilities, I can see wanting water there to wash, even if you had kayaks or whatever, all that. But electricity, I'm not too sure why. It's a boathouse. I mean, if you want to do some work like sanding or whatever, I mean, nobody uses electric cords anymore, so you don't need electric to do any type of work. So the electric, I'm hesitant on. The water is okay. The floor, and this is just, I don't know, according to my measurement, the boathouse is 25 feet wide. So how are you going to put a floor in a 25 feet without having some type of braces or footing or something like that in order to, unless you're going to have a lot of 25-foot beams going in there to put the floor in. I'm not too sure how you do it, so you're
Just
going to have
gonna
to.
put light
put some
kayaks on it.
Well, yeah, I just don't know, so maybe a little bit more construction detail there, because how do you put this is 25 by 40 or something like that? How do you put a
It's a
floor
really
in
big boathouse.
25 by 40 a span?
Great question.
So you're going to have some type of something
Supports.
to support there.
Yeah.
How do you do it? If so, then that's going down into part of the salt marsh and the other things. So that was a question I'm sitting on, how are they gonna do that? Right now, that's about it for me.
Okay. So in terms of the reciting, redoing windows, redoing doors and that, we would like to know what types of materials. Don't know if Cameron is aware, but we have a local bylaw regulation for aesthetics. So we'd want the materials used to blend into the surrounding natural environment. They certainly do now. We would hope to see that continue. That includes the roofing as well. In terms of the electric, if you are proposing any sort of lighting, we would need a lighting plan. And to Judith's point, no exterior lighting. It's interesting about the floor, having lived with a real boathouse for a long time, and the purpose of a dirt floor in a boathouse is to keep dampness there for when the days of boats were wooden. So it's interesting about the floor, but that's okay. There was a note about repairs to the foundation, superficial. What do those entail, or would they entail?
Yeah, exactly that, just superficial repairs to that block concrete, if they need to mortar up any cracks or anything like that.
I'm not talking about any new cement or anything like that in,
Correct, yep.
okay. In terms of the pathways, if you are proposing to use the easement pathway, then it would be great to plant that pathway on the bank, so to prevent water from running down into the marsh. Mitigation there would be more valuable, I think, than some of the proposed mitigation you've got down towards the marsh. A concern about that mitigation around the boathouse is some of those plants recommended are not salt tolerant. They're not going to survive. Any high tide, probably this morning, that tide was up into that area. So take a look at that and see if you can put salt tolerant material in there. Love the mitigation, but I don't think it's going to survive, and we certainly don't want a lot of watering going on down there. We will have to have a time of year restriction. Even just putting mats down on a marsh, it still affects the marsh, and we don't want it during growing season, so it'll be fall to spring, November to April type of time of year restriction. For work around the boathouse, what else? Bear in mind also the Pleasant Bay Alliance, if there's a request for a new license is also going to weigh in on this, so you probably want to contact them. I'm sure you know that. And I think that's all I have. David?
Very thorough site plan, Cameron. Nice job. With respect to the floating steps, I think we need to see a little more detail in the construction drawing. For instance, open risers. So whenever we have steps in any sort of a resource area, we generally require open risers to allow sunlight to penetrate. And I think it would be helpful if you could demonstrate that this is a water-dependent use. I recently permitted the repairs to the boathouse at the end of Keziah's Lane, which the commission issued an order of conditions for. And I was in contact with FEMA in Boston, and if it is a water-dependent use, you don't have an issue with putting a floor in there. And obviously, I think with the opening that you're proposing on the seaward side, that would allow the floodwaters to come in and go out. So I think that would be helpful in your application. I don't have a problem with water and electricity in a boathouse. I think both are needed to work on boats and maintain boats. Drewsy's comments about time of year restriction, you definitely want to do the work when the salt marsh is dormant, when you're going to be putting those things down on the marsh itself. The boathouse is in a salt marsh, but inside the boathouse itself, we walked around. There's no evidence of salt marsh inside. We're working inside. I think it would be very helpful if you could provide us with preliminary construction plans and elevations so we can see, to Jerry's comment, if you're going to have the post, if you have posts to support that, they're not going to be a detriment to the movement of water below the floor, but I think it would be helpful us to see how you're going to support the floor. And then additionally, in the in the site plans, demonstrate building materials, so we know. And for your benefit, Cameron, we generally like to see natural materials that blend in. We're not supposed to tell you what to do, but we tend to try and avoid white trim because it does stand out, so if the materials could be natural. I'm assuming that the ridge height is going to remain the same on this. The exterior dimensions aren't going to change at all.
True.
And then, I think you answered my question about the path. Yeah, if you could note that you're going to abandon and replant the path, that would be very helpful. But I think the project as a whole, I don't have a problem with the renovation. I think if you're using the boathouse for a water-dependent use, and you're going to have a boat in there, you need to take the boat out onto the water. So the from where the steps are to the edge of the marsh is probably the smallest distance that you have to traverse the marsh to get to the marsh. So if you can demonstrate that they are floating and then they have open risers, I don't have a problem with the steps either. That's all I have. Thank you.
John?
Thank you, and I agree with the previous speaker. Thank you for a well-presented package of materials. I'm going to keep going with some of those comments on the stair detail. It's not only the open risers, but the decking material. So, for example, you could look at incorporating through-flow decking to really maximize light penetration. As we walked around the front of the boathouse, they're over the high marsh community, not necessarily the low marsh. But light penetration will be a big thing, and they're seasonal in nature, they come and go. I like the design. They're truly suspended and able to be suspended and not touch the bottom. I think that might serve as a way to get the boats in and out during the season. To keep going with the previous speaker's comments, the decking of the boathouse and the water dependent, I'll let you guys do a little bit more work on that, but that probably, if if you're able to just demonstrate that it's a water-dependent structure, I think that will get to the previous speaker's comments about building code and floor elevation heights, which is what we did with the owner's cottage that's on the water with the previous owner at that time. This is different. This is appears a very water-dependent structure since the early 30s, or whenever you cited it, you could see it back to. And it is flooding and subject to flooding. And on that note, I think I saw at one point during some of the communications with you, I thought I did see some building drawings that showed the seaward elevation. I think that's been requested of the commission, so as you provide those, it was my recollection there was very good things happening there with allowing floodwaters to enter the building, and probably, if that's the case, that might offer an improvement to land subject to coast storm flowage where it's unimpeded, it can enter and leave the building as floods come and go. I wanted to circle back to some of the state comments as, the theme for me, when I read both the comments, there's two themes. One's salt marsh, one's mean high water. But in terms of mean high water, just go to that briefly. That was mostly in the DEP comments. And tipped off by the placements of the matting. They make comments about fill and water quality cert. I assume you're gonna avoid all that, and you can avoid all that, and I would challenge you to maybe put a finer point on that as you engage the DEP for the waterways license. In no instance, I don't think you need that to re-side and re-roof and repair this boathouse and even install a floor.
You're saying you think it would be okay without using the matting?
No, I'll get to the matting. I don't think the matting constitutes fill.
Oh,
nor
correct,
should
right.
it.
They had referenced that, that they may look at that as temporary fill, which would trigger it.
You can talk to them about that.
Right.
For example, when we did the cottage on 317, we used a lot of matting. And so now I'm going to transition over to the salt marsh theme in those comment letters. When we use matting on salt marsh to protect salt marsh, we use it at a particular time of year. That's not now, that's in the winter in the dormant season. And the commission commonly refers to that season as between November 1st and April 1st of any given calendar year. And we've successfully seen projects mat marsh and protect marsh from compaction and damage during construction. So the half of this boathouse, to side and roof it, you're gonna be in that salt marsh area that everyone's so concerned about, including the commissioners. Matting I would absolutely recommend you require Alternamats is what we see used. I don't know if they have other brand names to the plastic diamond plate stuff.
Whatever you guys are comfortable with is.
Yeah, they're movable by hand or whatever. But those do work well for keeping the foot traffic off the marsh. But that would be a time of year restricted placement, therefore a time of year restricted construction season, if you will. I really liked your narrative, and I have some of the same highlights when I read through it as commissioners have spoken up on. The access, like picking one, I heard that you have picked one, and it's, if an order is issued for the utility install, that you would maintain that at a 4-foot width for the access. Could you even mitigate removal of the rustic path if that was approved? I mean, could we, to talk about the mitigation plants, I would recommend you look at salt-loving material. I do support the selective removal of invasives while you're down there working. We navigated around the nice cedar tree that I see you wish to protect. We witnessed the olive and stuff. Some of your plant list is more shaded, forest-loving plants. I would look at that. Bayberry is a salt-tolerant one, Bacchus, some of the high-tide bush that you can now get out of nurseries. Might be easier to establish for the homeowner than some of the ones you've chosen. I don't want to design your plan, I would look at salt-loving, you already got that comment, look at salt-loving plants. But I did like the selective removal, it was pretty small. I think you got comments on the aesthetic interest, which we do have a local aesthetic wetland interest in Orleans, which is pretty unique, on the materials comment. And the comment about as you get into the, I guess maybe able to supply us with construction drawings, that I didn't think about the span and the need for footings, so anything that avoids that, I think would be less disturbance to the resource area, but that's it. I know I had a big list, but it was pretty detailed filing and a lot to look over, but.
David, you had another comment?
Cameron, I think it would be helpful, not only with us, but with dealing with the state, if you could put together a detailed construction protocol of how you'll be removing some materials from the site, and then working on the site, and then perhaps even look into, once you've done the walls on the building, perhaps you could look at using scaffolding, so you could be doing work on the roof and places like that without traversing the salt marsh all the time. Just look into a protocol of how you're gonna protect the resource areas. It will help us, providing you with an order of conditions as well. I mean, the more detail you can give us, the better.
Will do.
Do you see?
Yeah.
One more question for you guys. Not a question, but a comment. I actually, I didn't have any issues with the renovation work, but I liked the elevated nature of the entry. And I was curious which path you're gonna choose to come and go, but I like the elevated nature of the entry, because as we went around there's some groundwater breakout, fresh water. I think getting the foot traffic up and off of that was good. But on the negative side, I didn't understand the need for the gravel shell. If you're able to get up onto the deck to then get off the ground, again, you can highlight the decking material if there's a light penetrating decking material back there. It's kind of in the shadow of the boathouse, but I didn't understand what was going on with the gravel and shell work on the ground. So you're below the flood elevation there. You can describe what the groundwork is more when you come back, I think. But I did, after our onsite, I understood the need to elevate and get off of the bottom, the ground there.
Yeah, the concern with the gravel and shell is that it's just gonna wash into the marsh.
One last thing for Cameron. I think the superficial foundation repairs, I think when we were at the onsite, Ben, we noticed some mortar parging that came off of one corner. If that's all it is, can you perhaps write that up so we can just put the fine point on that? One of the commissioners noticed that. I think it was on the seaward corner of front left side.
Yeah, instead of the gravel and shell under there, under that deck over there, you'd be better off with some sort of plant. High marsh or something. Anything else, you guys?
I think that's it.
I think you've got a pretty good list.
I think it's great. I think every member of the feedback's wonderful. So my takeaway from this is we're going to need some time, obviously, to address the questions that you all have and to make modifications. I think the one real issue that we have here is water dependent access from a use standpoint. We need to demonstrate that it's water dependent, but because it is water dependent, we're going to need to have access out to get those boats in and out. There's a mooring right out of there as well, so.
Agreed.
We're hope that, you're okay with us having that access.
Absolutely.
Personally, I think water and power, at least for some lighting, some interior lighting for doing the work on the boats and getting in there is important. But we have a lot to do here, so.
Yeah, again, my concern with the electric is not, everyone needs to work on boats. I grew up with wooden boats. If I had an electric sander, I would have been super happy, but, it's the lighting.
No, and obviously, no, we
Exterior.
can't have exterior lighting.
And the fact that these structures always seem to end up turning into, if not quasi-dwellings, then party houses.
Well, and
I mean,
also.
that's not our business, but it is our business.
Well, it goes right to what, I think it goes right to what Dick was saying, which is, is this a water dependent structure, or do we have to elevate it to meet building requirements? So we're gonna have to make sure that we're gonna comply with the requirements necessary to get the building permit as well. So we'll address that.
So how much time would you like?
Yeah, let's go with the month.
30 days and.
Christina?
16th. It's either June 16th or July 7th.
Do we have a fourth? We have a fifth Tuesday.
There's a fourth.
That's fine with us.
Okay. Is there any public comment on the project? Online? Anyone?
No raised hands.
Okay, can I get a motion to continue?
I move to continue the discussion for the project for 317 and 317A South Orleans Road to 6/16/2026.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brucey, aye. David?
Aye.
Thank
right.
you.
Great to see you all.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
See you holiday weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Our next order of business, Certificate of Compliance, Cape Cod Healthcare, 42 Route 6A, DEP number 54-2519, map 26, parcel 37, the demolition of the existing restaurant building and parking and construction of a new medical office building with upgraded parking with drainage. Work occurred within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Goodbye, Lobster Claw.
That's been doctoral. See in the distance.
You know, I was trying to figure out what 42 Route 6A was, and now I know. Yeah.
And John.
Yes, I have made an inspection, and the project is complete and in compliance. I think in one of the letters, Down Cape did suggest an ongoing condition regarding catch basin maintenance, and I would think that's a good suggestion, and that we include that as an ongoing condition.
Great.
Great.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
I move to find the project, DEP number 542519 for 42 Route 6A in compliance with the following condition of allowing drainage basin maintenance.
Second.
All those in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Ginny?
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brucey, aye. David?
Aye.
Next order, business administrative review. Matthew Schmidt, 10 Larbert Lane, the proposed removal of 3 pine trees within the proximity of the dwelling and power lines. And we discussed this at last meeting, but we did not have representation. Mr. Schmidt on the line. Yes.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. And can you just introduce yourself for the record, please?
Sure, Matthew Schmidt.
Okay, John, do you want to?
Yeah, well, we talked about, so I think to recap the last hearing that we discussed the applicant's property, is the applicant had welcomed Drusy and I, the chair and I, to view the trees. We did so. We discussed that at our last meeting, and I reported on the condition of them and our general assessment, I guess, from our visit, as did the chair. And then we took no action. I directed Matt to watch that tape and then be present today to further discuss it, so.
Mr. Schmidt, were you able to review that meeting?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay. So as you heard, we had concerns about the removals of the pine trees, those 2 pines, due to the significant habitat, and they appear to be very healthy trees, and just wondering what your response to that is.
Understood. Understand and appreciate that the trees are healthy. They're very large, very close to the house, as you saw, and as our arborist detailed in his report. My thought, having listened to the last meeting, was that if we could move forward with the removal of the 2 pines and the oak that is near those 2 sets of power lines, if we could mitigate by introducing 3 or 4 new native shrubs in the area that I think would welcome new wildlife, new habitat, and also have, years of good growth ahead of them. If we could land on that as a resolution, is that something you would consider?
Commissioners,
Trees
response?
for shrubs?
I would like to see a mitigation plan.
Yeah, trees.
Yeah, I think that it sounds like the tenor of the commission right now is that we would want trees as mitigation and not shrubs. It's a different habitat type. It's understory versus overstory, obviously, and that type of thing. Did you have thoughts about putting trees in instead of shrubs?
I'm open to trees. I was wondering, could we do a mix? Could we do 1 or 2 trees and then 1 or 2 shrubs just to balance out? Honestly, it's the cost and the work. It's a expense, and that's my responsibility. It's an expense for all of this, which I understand. I'm just thinking about the additional costs and how to balance sort of all the factors here. So if we did
Yeah.
maybe 1 or 2 trees and then 1 or 2 shrubs, would that be something we could consider?
Well, I would certainly say at least 2 trees.
Okay.
1-to-1 at the bare minimum to replace those 2 healthy pines. David, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to suggest that I think it's been our policy for a 1-to-1 replacement. And I understand the concern about, well, I didn't get to visit the on-site. I understand they're very close to the dwelling, and I understand your concern about the dwelling, particularly after going through the storm that we did with the damage that occurred with snow on trees like this and that in the winter storm. So I think what we're getting at is a 1-to-1 replacement, and we would be comfortable with that.
In the same general area?
Yeah, so we certainly, obviously, we'd require native trees, canopy trees to provide that habitat. They certainly don't have to be pines, but we would like them planted in the same general area. We don't want to get back into this situation 30 years from now, but.
I agree.
It is down close to the edge of the wetland, so those trees do serve a purpose in protecting that wetland as well as providing habitat. Dick, did you have something? No. Oh, okay. And then, that's for the 2 pines. The oak is not a healthy tree. We all saw that. So if you prefer to mitigate for the removal of the oak with some nice understory native shrubs along the wetland again would be ideal. I think that would be a good solution if the
2
commission.
trees for the pines and 2 shrubs for the oak.
Can
Yeah.
I make a suggestion?
Sure.
The home is like right adjacent to the wetland itself.
Yeah.
And it's devoid of any real buffer, but just by nature of where it is. The pine trees are closest to the wetland edge, but I think if we can just we should get a sketch plan. If we're
Yes.
talking about tree replacement, what we normally do,
Especially since we can't see the
Can't see it, so.
well, what we normally like to see or require with orders of conditions is a species and a size. And for trees of this size, we're talking about tree replacement for deciduous trees that go in at a 2 or 3 inch caliper of native type. And so near freshwater like wetland like that, there's a lot of different species than pitch pine that could benefit. Tupelo, red maple are 2 that jump into my head. But we don't need something overly formal, but we will need the homeowner to commit to a sketch plan because you're talking about mitigation and replacement plans, so we want to make sure we know what's going in and that it survives.
Yeah, so for the homeowner, the way to deal with that would be to work with John. He will help you.
I don't want to design any homeowner.
No, not
landscape.
designing, but make sure that the sketch is accurate and correct and.
The office can direct the homeowner to the state plant lists, and they can sketch up a plan or seek help putting together a replacement plan. It sounds like it's like for like, or maybe it's 2 trees and some shrubs.
Trees.
If shrubs are to replace the oak, I would say adjacent to the wetland edge would be a great place for those shrubs.
Yep.
The oak was over, when Drusy and I made the onsite, I think I reported at the last meeting, there was other trees there. I was less concerned about the oak after I made the onsite, more concerned about the pines. Because the area where the pines are, they serve as the only canopy adjacent to the wetland edge.
With all that said, does that sound good for you, Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, I think we're absolutely moving in the right direction. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and comments and time on this. Just in terms of the location of some of the new natives that go in, are we open to utilizing some other pieces of the property as opposed to the edge? Just thinking about where the trees would go and what they would look like over the years and running into this issue down the road. I just want to make sure that
Drucy, I
I'm
think,
being very thoughtful of where these trees and shrubs go in so that long-term they're the most beneficial to the area and for the property.
Matt, and that's why I suggest, maybe it's time to transition to having you sketch a plan to show us where you'd like to replant these trees, so they don't have a long-term conflict with your home. They need to be in commission's jurisdiction, but most of your site is, so that's less of a concern here.
Well, our job here is to protect the wetland interest, and placing the trees elsewhere, away from where those pines are, which are near the wetland, near the edge of wetland, is sort of counterintuitive. So I think we're gonna need a sketch. If you have other suggestions and they look good in terms of protecting the wetland interest, then we can go along, but understand that we're leaning towards protecting that wetland interest, and especially anything that can uptake nutrients before it gets down into that wetland, which is trees and shrubs, roots, and also obviously some habitat right along the edge of the wetland to provide corridor and give access to any of the creatures living in that wetland and near the wetland without having to traverse lawns and past houses and things like that. So that's our concern about the placement, if that makes it more clear for you.
It does. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. So we wait on a sketch before we move ahead with this?
Yeah, you don't have to take any action. We'll wait to get a sketch from the homeowner on the replacement trees and/or trees and shrubs.
Tim, did you have something?
Yeah, I would just say, I would strongly recommend talking to the the shrubless people with the state. I'm sure they could help you immensely of what should go near the wetlands.
Okay, so we will look forward to seeing that sketch, Mr. Schmidt, and then we will hopefully act at our next meeting, hopefully, if you can get that done in time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next order of business, administrative review, Greg McGauley, 1 Sandbar Lane, the proposed stabilization and mitigation of runoff along the stairway on the coastal bank and removal of 2 beetle-infested pitch pines. John, you were on site.
Yeah, the McGauley's installed a coastal bank staircase with an order conditions, and we're found in compliance a few years back, but the bank continues to run in a road adjacent to it. So this AR comes in from terra firma to try to work with the erosion adjacent to the bank. I had no issues with any of that. It's on your agenda today because there are 2 live native removals to go along with this, but I did visit. They are flagged. It's hard to tell in the pictures that have made your digital packet because Peter flagged them with like a clothesline. So it almost looks like a vine, but they are flagged. I went to view them myself before deciding on my recommendation to you today, and they are upper canopy species, but it's a dense woods there, and this one adjacent to the erosion will allow, if you approve the removal, allow them to get to work on this side that's causing the erosion and a lot of sediment to run down the run. So with all that said, I recommend that you can approve this without further filing. And I do know which trees will be removed to try to stabilize the edge of the staircase in the woods.
So once again, citing the interests of the wetland resource, fixing that runoff is better for that wetland than just about anything at this point. So I think that's good mitigation for taking down some beetle trees. Dick?
Madam Chair, hey, John, would that be a tiering system, since terra firma is a part of it?
No, I think it's more fixing the bare nature of the soil, blanket, and seed.
Okay.
It's just an edge treatment, as he describes, with some compost and Pennsylvania sedge and fescue under some jute that Peter works with.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I had just one question though, John, and maybe it's just me, but, okay, so the trees that they're taking down are beetle infested, but they're saying they're just gonna lay them on the bank. Wouldn't you wanna take the trunks, wouldn't you wanna take them away to try to get the beetles
Yeah.
out of the area? It seems
People
to
do
me-
do that, but it's not, a lot of people will, I don't know, the word isn't not preach, but a lot of people recommend that. It doesn't mean that there's not gonna be any beetle-infested pines on your property. It's not a bad practice
Right.
if there's a population of the insect in the tree that you're removing. That's why a lot of people get nervous about taking chips from some of the tree companies with this stuff. But that pest is around. The best defense against a pest like that is a healthy tree. And this tree is in a stand of them, and it's an older tree. It's obviously infested, so.
Right, but they're saying that the trunks are to be, laid on the contour, so they're keeping them on site. I mean,
That's a good point.
If they were to
why
fall,
just having them,
if they were to fall naturally, that same thing would happen, so it's, I don't mind the deadfall as litter in the woods, in this case. It's a pretty dense piece of woods that they walk down adjacent to the neighbor.
So it's up in the woods, it's not on the bank?
That's right, it's in the buffer zone to the coastal bank. The removal is.
What happens to the beetles?
Same thing would happen if I don't know, if they
Go find another.
It's an
Interesting question.
They're not gonna stay in the dead wood very long if
Well, I was gonna say, maybe they stay there and eat the dead wood instead of moving to a healthy tree.
Maybe the wood.
Are they natural beetles? Or are they invasive?
They're invasive.
Yeah.
Then get rid
I
of
don't
them.
think so, are they? Turpentine beetle isn't invasive, is it?
Are they
I think the
turpentine?
homeowner should think about this.
The large tree is, I think, like an 8 to 10 inch diameter. It's this one here with the clothesline around it,
Pretty
your picture.
sized tree.
And it's mostly so you can work that edge of the bank that's eroding. And the stick behind it is the second tree.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
could recommend removal of beetle-infested deadwood. Again, they're usually, I think, we talked about the boring insects in the last meeting regarding the last.
I'd be comfortable if you recommended it as opposed to us requiring it.
yeah, that's what,
Yes, I
I
would
was just
agree with
wondering, I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
I read some, when you read, they say they recommend that you take it off-site.
I can make that suggestion.
Jerry has now become one of the preachers.
Hallelujah.
Wasn't gonna let him get away with that.
Yeah, I did.
Amen.
I don't know why it was in my head, but.
Okay, so any other questions before we act on this? Okay, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the administrative review for 1 Sandbar Lane.
Second,
All those in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Ginny? Aye. Dick?
Aye.
Judith?
aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Trucy? Aye. David?
With the recommendation to remove the 2 trees?
Noted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, next order of business, administrator's business. I would like to highlight some successes we had at town meeting. We got funding for our Phase 5 at Putnam approved. Thank you, voters. We got our conservation fund refurbished with some more funding for future projects. Thank you again, voters. We got funding approved to a joint effort with the Orleans Conservation Trust to develop new trail maps for the town, so thank you for that, voters. And on a side note, OCT thanks everyone for helping to fund purchase of property over by Cedar Pond and keep protecting that pond. So thank you. And then, John, you had,
Yeah, well, I echo the thanks to the select board and the town manager's office for all of the support throughout the town meeting run-up process, and then to have that vote go smoothly and be supported again. That's wonderful. And that'll lead to us, I think, I want to get going a little earlier with our work list. Maybe we'll take that up at the end of the August meeting, because as we're about to get very busy, there's some projects I know that need attention, that are above and beyond maintenance that we will have the ability to then take on next year. So that'd be fun. And I also wanted to give a thanks out to those commissioners that joined us, and a big thanks to the Friends of Lonnie's Pond for the Kents Point Annual Workday. That went off on May 7th. where we closed the conservation area for the day. We had good attendance, and we had a great lunch provided by the Friends of Lonnie's Pond, and we did a ton of work. We almost worked everyone too hard.
I must say, it was difficult keeping up with Christina all day long. She led a torrid pace.
But
Oh, to be young again.
Friends distributed 3 pre-staged piles of wood chips along the trails, as well as a 4th pile that we generated with the tree crew that was working on blizzard cleanup. We did a few things when we were far away where we made wildlife piles. We chopped plenty of dead wood, left plenty of it in the woods, chipped a truckload, and then left those chips on the site. So we never removed any biomass from the site for the day. Friends brought all their wheelbarrows, and some people had like step counters on it, and there was, I think, one of the volunteers had like 6 miles booked.
Yeah.
7.
So,
Yeah, I think it
and
was
I
more
saw some of those same volunteers at town meeting. That was, I think, 3-4 days later, and I think we were all still tired. So we did something, and
They were all on canes and crutches.
we're.
It's hard to distinguish.
The property looks good, and I think at our end of the day, muster was well said by someone that, we might have differences in opinion throughout our discussions regarding the property, but a day like today felt like community, that person said, and I thought that was nice.
Yes, thank you very much, and just, again, for public service announcement, this is part of an ongoing effort to keep improving Kent's Point, to keep improving the habitat, to keep improving the erosion control on the pathways, and everything we have been talking about for the past couple of years. So this is ongoing work that we're doing all the time to keep improving that site.
And on,
People continuing to stay out of the marsh?
yeah, on,
Thank you.
more on Kent's, the,
Thank you, dog walkers.
we're working on, with the town manager's office, from Molly and Nate's office and Christina, on getting the signage up for the sticker required parking come this season.
Yeah, a reminder that starting June 15th, as per our previous work this year, there will be a sticker requirement at Kent's Point through September 15th. So,
Those signs, I think, there'll be one at Frostfish and Monument, and then be one as you enter the conservation property.
okay, great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd also like to take just a moment to thank Ian Ellison, who brought the front end who brought a little tractor with a bucket on it that we would not have finished if we didn't have Ian Ellison to give us
I
that.
thought it was cheating when I saw it show up.
Little tractor.
Oh, we got this, but boy, that really helped.
It helps so much. And while talking, John has done a heck of a job over the last 3 and 4 months, as we know, and he not only was that, but working with town meetings. And if you have not been out to Putnam, please make a drive out there. We have a 3/4 complete
Barn, yeah.
barn, and it looks spectacular from every view in the area. I think it's, we applaud John. I think a moment to say thank you for all you've been doing.
Yes.
I know it's your job, but
It's not, we still have a month left to go for our deadline.
Settle down, people.
Give the
But no, I
applause.
mean, seriously, John's been working night and day
oh
on
my
this
gosh.
Putnam project, so yes.
Yeah,
Christine.
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you. Okay, is there any public comment? Anyone online, Mia? Looks pretty quiet. No. Okay. Chairman's business, approval of the meeting minutes of 4/21/26. Did anyone have any comments?
No comment?
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to approve the meeting minutes for 4/21/2026.
Second?
All those in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Ginny? Dick?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Tracy, aye. David?
Aye.
And a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
I don't know when to speak any longer.